Is intended for review only. It is not intended to cover all aspects of the competency and does not cover all safety precautions. Do not attempt the operation unless you have participated in the classroom demonstration and have the instructor's permission. This competency involves setting up a vehicle that has the spark plug wires removed and getting them in the proper firing order. First thing you're going to need is a car or a school vehicle. Next, I will come over and remove all the plug wires in no particular order. Now your job is going to be to figure out how to get these back in so the engine in fact runs properly. These cannot go on in any random order. They have to be in a specific order. The way to do that is determine what part or where number one spark plug is or number one cylinder is in the engine. We know on this vehicle that number one is the front. We're going to pull the spark plug out with your wrench. We've already got this one loose to make it easier. Now you're going to take your finger and you're going to put it in the spark plug hole so that you have a good seal. Now, under no conditions, if you have small fingers, should you ever stick it in there beyond the first knuckle. All right, if you get in much more than 1.5 inches, there's a possibility your finger could get nicked by a piston or a valve. So if your finger isn't big enough in diameter, try getting in there with your thumb, whatever. There's no way you can get hurt as long as you don't go in past your first knuckle. In this case, I can get in there and seal it pretty good with my finger. I'm going to have my partner go into the vehicle and turn it over. Now what's going to happen here is every time we come up on the compression stroke, I'm going to get a large pop. All right, it's important that before you attempt to crank this engine over that you remove the ECM fuses. Most vehicles have got 2 fuses that power the computer. Pull them both out. That way there's no danger that this car can misfire and you could have a fire right next to where your hand is or your face is. Now I've got my partner in the car. I have the number one plug out. I don't have a clue where the rest of these wires go. I have the plug wire off, or the spark plug wire off, that goes from the coil to the center of the distributor. I'm now going to stick my finger in here. All right, and Jeff, whenever you're ready. Clear. Good. Now what you heard was the compression every 4th stroke popping my finger off of the spark plug hole. All right, once you understand and make sure that you can get a good pop like that, then you're going to find the distributor on the engine, and we'll come over to this side. On this engine, the distributor is located right here. I'm going to pull the cap off, usually with 2 little screws there, and I'm going to look for the rotor. Here's the rotor on the distributor. This is the power distribution end of the rotor. It receives its power from the coil through the center coil tower to this tab, transmits it out here. With this particular car being HEI, this is about 50,000 volts that goes through there. That's why you want to make darn sure that you have the ECM fuses pulled out. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to hold my finger back in that hole and then come over and look, and every time that my finger gets popped off the hole, I need to see where this part of the rotor is pointing. I've got to be very accurate. This is only a 4-cylinder engine, so I only have 4 plug wires. If it's an 8, I'm going to have 8 plug wires. Okay, I've got my hand over the number one spark plug hole for the number one cylinder of the engine, and now we're going to be looking at the rotor once more. When you hear the rotor or my finger pop off the plug hole, we need to be sure we're right on the money where that rotor is pointing. Go ahead. Clear. finger around so I can be sure I'm in the right spot, this is where number 1 is at top dead center. When this tip of the rotor is pointing there, that's number 1. I'll now put the distributor cap back on, make sure it's installed properly, and once it's on, I'm going to put my firing order set up as this being cylinder number 1. Cut. Okay, the distributor cap has now been reinstalled. As you recall, this is where the rotor was pointing when this was number 1. This, the first wire will be put here and we'll go to cylinder number 1. The firing order on this vehicle is 1324. The next cylinder in the firing order is number 3. We'll put a wire here that goes to number 3 cylinder, number 2 cylinder, and number 4 cylinder. And then when that's all done, put the coil wire back on. So each wire, you're going to have to figure out where it goes and that you have the right length wire. For example, this one we have marked as going to cylinder number 1. So I'll put this on the distributor, make sure it's all the way down. Then I'll take the other end of the wire, come over here and put it on number 1 spark plug. So far I have 1 cylinder timed properly and in the right firing order. Jeff will go ahead and finish the rest. Hooks one end of the distributor, the other end of the cylinder number 3. Now, in this case, Jeff didn't check to see if he had the right length wire going there. And that wire, you can see, is stretched way too tight and is in fact going over the fuel return line, which is a fire hazard. So watch Jeff correct this. By the way, he knows better. He's doing this to show you the right way to do it.